Sri Gurubhyo Namaha children, you are welcome for online class, class 11. This is your third unit poem, Lines Written in Early Spring, part 2. In the part 1, we saw that Wordsworth's poem, Lines Written in Early Spring, is a simple poem and composed of fixed lines, all 4 full lines, 6 stanzas, and written with A-B rhymes, rhyming scheme of each. The poet reminds readers of the beauty of the nature and the need to protect it. It is a landscape. The poem concerns the nature. It was a day in early spring. The poet sits in a grove and enjoys the nature, and that time he got a sudden thought, and that thought is nothing but something destruction in the nature. Man does something harm to the other man as well as to the nature. So he was just enjoying, he was having a pleasant thought, and along with that a sad thought was in him. The pleasant thoughts brought about by the joys in the nature induced sad thoughts as the think man and his world. So the pleasant thought nature brought, and the sad thought the man made for the man and for the nature brought. Nature linked the human soul in the poet of the fair works. The more joy he saw in the nature, and the more he is with the man, more he is growed. It's hard to think what man has made for a man. So here he is just thinking. When he was enjoying the nature, the thought brought to him just tells him what the injustice the man is doing for the nature. The poet looked around and saw a primrose tuft, and he watched the periwinkle trailing the wreaths in that sweet bower. The flowers seemed to be joyful, and the poet believed that every flower enjoyed the air it breathed. The bird around him hopped and played. The poet could not measure their thoughts. He could not understand what made the playful and joyous. He could only see they were very much aesthetic. Every motion by maid seemed a thrill of pleasure for him. The joyful sight of various objects of the nature brought him the best pleasant mood in him. The twigs, along with 1,000 blended notes, made the poet think that there was a pleasure there. The poet catches the mood between nature and the human world is supposed to be one with the nature is plundering and destroying it. The poet laments how man has brought about miseries and disaster upon himself by serving himself from nature's holy plan. So here human being is destroying the plan of nature, and this had made him worried, and we'll see in the other stanzas. Okay, you can see this is a primrose. You can see a primrose. Oh, nature, it is nature. And when you see that, you will forget everything and you'll enjoy its color and the beauty of it. The same here he also done. Through the primrose tufts in that sweet bower. So bower means just a branch where he was seated under the branch. In that place when he was seated, he found a primrose like this. You can see the primrose very clearly how it is, beautiful it is. And he was just seeing a primrose tufts in that sweet bower. The periwinkle trailed its wreath. So periwinkle is also a kind of a flower, and it also just wreaths. And it's my faith that every flower enjoys the air it breathes. So every flower in this world just enjoys the breath of the air, and it loves and it gives a pleasure to the others. So the human being only the thing, just not, they are taking the enjoyment and they are distracting others and they are disturbing others and they are destroying others. So here the flowers they took a breath air from the nature and it gives this pleasant thing to the nature, and human being can see those flowers and they can forget themselves. They feel very happy. And it's my faith that every flower enjoys the air it breathes. So every flower, what the air it gets or breathes, is just enjoying, and it feels very happy in that. But human being taking all the beauty, taking all the breath of the air, but they forget about the nature. So okay children, we'll go for the next. The birds around me hopped and played. The birds around me hopped and played. Their thoughts I cannot measure. So first he saw the rose and the flower, and he saw that it is just enjoying the nature and taking a breath of the air and feels very happy. The same way, the birds around him hopped and played. It just hopped and played. Their thoughts I cannot measure. The poet is not able to measure the happiness of the birds who just enjoyed their hopped and played. But the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. So you can see that, but the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. The least motion, so they were not making that much motion. So here and there jumping, playing, least motion only. Mostly they were sitting silently, observing the nature and enjoying the pleasant breath they are getting from the air, from the nature. It seemed a thrill of pleasure. So when they are moving, when the slight motion was there, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. So they were having lot of pleasure. So first the flowers had the pleasure. Now we found that birds which hopped and played, only slight movements was given, and that also was just enjoying the nature and they were feeling very happy. So you can see the birds around me hopped and played. Their thoughts I cannot measure. So that thoughts cannot be measured means they are feeling very happy, and the poet was not able to measure the enjoyment they made. But the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. But the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. So he made a thrill of pleasure. So here, but the least motion, only the less movement they have given, very less movement they were showing. Most birds are just sitting and observing. One or two birds were just flying and hopping here and there. And that was a slight movement only, which they made. It seemed a thrill of pleasure. So it gives a thrill of pleasure. They were just, that movement also was there because poet was not able to measure their pleasure, and the slight movement is because the thrill of the pleasure in them made them not to sit in one place. You're understanding? So because they were very happy, sometimes when you feel very happy, you'll sing, dance and jump. So like that, the birds were just enjoying the nature's beauty, and there is no doubt that they are enjoying, but the poet was not able to measure their values, but there was a moment because of the overflow, the thrill which the pleasant mood brought for the birds gave a slight movement. So it is very clear, children. The budding twigs spread out their fan to catch the breezy air, and I must think, do all I can, that there was pleasure there. So here the branch was there, and a small branch was there, the budding twigs. So slightly, that is a spring season, and all the autumn season leaf all will be fallen, and now the small stems are getting a green leaves. So that is budding twigs. The budding twigs spread out, they fan. So that there will be a breeze, because of that there will be a movement, and that movement was enjoyed by the budding twigs. The budding twigs spread out their fan. Spread out means the leaves all been just blooming because of to get the fresh air from the nature. To catch the breezy air, which comes from the trees, from the other branches of the other parts of the tree. And I must think, do all I can, so I can also enjoy like them. Do all I can, that there was a pleasure there. So here the flowers are enjoying the nature, birds are enjoying the nature, and there is no measure for the birds' enjoyment, for their pleasure. And the poet also feels very pleasure as everything is enjoying. He also enjoys the pleasure. Do all I can, that there was pleasure there. So he is able to find that was the right place, and that place is surely having an enjoyment. There is no doubt in that. Surely there is a place, and it is having a pleasure, and other things are enjoying. Even the poet was able to feel and enjoy it. So there is no doubt in that place, their pleasure is there. So there is no doubt in that. Okay, so it is very clear. You can understand. The budding twigs spread out their fan to catch the breezy air, and I must think, do all I can, that there was pleasure there. So he says that I am there because I'm sure that there is a pleasure in that place. Flowers enjoys, birds enjoys, even the twigs enjoys, and human being also, as the poet was sitting and he is also enjoying. There is no doubt that there is surely a pleasure in that nature. Okay. If this belief from heaven be sent, so if this thing is sent from heaven, if this have been sent from heaven, if such be nature's holy plan, have I not reason to lament what man is made of man? So it is such a nature, and it gives happiness and pleasant mood to the birds, flowers, and for the human being. So even the poet enjoys that. But if this beliefs from heaven be sent, if the nature is being sent by heaven, if we believe that it is heaven's gift, if such be nature's holy plan, if such be the nature's holy plan, have I not reason to lament? Have I not reason to lament? Why you have to lament? He was enjoying the nature. He was happy. Why you have to feel lament? Because what man is made of? Man. What man is made of? Man. So it is very clear to you, children. So one line. The human being are just disloyal to the nature about the miseries and disasters upon himself by serving himself from nature's holy plan. So here they have to follow God's will, and they have to take an oath that they must not destroy nature. So here the poet feels human being are just destroying the nature. That must not take place. So a human being is doing to another human being and to the nature, and that thought made him to feel just sad, worried, and he is crying for that. What harmful thing had done to the nature, which is giving a pleasant thing to everything. A flower is getting a pleasant and feeling happy and just there. And the birds and animals, they are getting, and they are also just not doing anything. But human being getting a pleasant thing from the nature, and they are just destroying it, that made the poet feel very sad. So it is very clear to you children. I hope that you understand this. We'll go for the figure of speech. Okay. So here 2 times this line is repeated. What man has made of a man? Repetition. So repetition, any lines or any word repeated many times in a poem, it is called as repetition. So here this what man has made of a man is a repetition. Personification. If such be nature's holy plan, that there was a pleasure there. So here nature had been considered as a human being. So, if such be nature's holy plan, so here the poet considered nature as a human being, as a person. So, this line tells that it is a personification. That there was pleasure there. So, in a nature, pleasure is there. So, we are a human being having a pleasure with a human being, but here this nature also is considered as a person, and so these 2 lines are personification. Okay, rhyming words from the poem. The budding twigs spread out their fan. So, fan and can is the rhyming word. To catch the breezy air, and that there was a pleasure there. So, air and there is a rhyming word. So, here this stanza A, B, B. So, A, B is the rhyming scheme. If this belief from heaven be sent, and lament, sent, lament, plan, man. So, sent, lament, A, plan, man, B. So, A, so rhyming scheme is A, B of this stanza, and rhyming scheme here same A, B, so A, B is the rhyming scheme. So, rhyming words you understood and rhyming scheme you understood. It is very clear, children. So, rhyming scheme here is given. I heard 1,000 blended notes while in a groovy set recline. That sweet mood when pleasant thought brings sad thoughts to the mind. A, B. So, here this is the rhyming scheme. It is clear, children? So, you understood 2 personification and you understood the poem very clearly. So, very simple thing, what he is saying is, the human being, nature gives a pleasant to us, but human being is not giving. So, they are destroying and spoiling the nature. So, that must not take place. So, that human being must take a promise that they must not spoil the nature, they will not disturb the nature. So, that they have to take an oath and promise, and they have to safeguard the nature, and they have to grow more trees, and they plant trees, and they have to enjoy the thing. So, the poet tells very clearly a very simple poem, and you enjoyed the poem, I hope. Okay. So, here the poet looked around and saw the primrose tuffet, and he watched the periwinkle, and these flowers are enjoying the air, and they are just making pleasant life. The same were birds hopped and played, and they also just watching the nature, and they also feel very happy in the nature, and they got pleasant mood. And out of their pleasant mood, they were not able to sit in one place. But the poet was sitting and enjoying, and he feels some thought the man is doing for the nature, and he feels for that. So, very simple poem. I hope you have understand, children. You understand the figure of speech also. We will meet you in the next class. To receive our online lessons, please press the subscribe button and you will receive the latest updates, children. Thank you, children. We will meet you in the next class.